Good morning. It's January 2nd, 2020. I call the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to elect the chair and vice chair of the Board of Supervisors for 2020.
I make a motion to appoint Jeff Sorensen as chair.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Jeff is the new chair. I will turn the meeting over to Jeff to elect a vice chair.
Thank you, Leslie. All right.
It's official now.
It's official now, there we go. All right, thank you, Leslie.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we also have to elect a vice chair. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion. Santos.
Okay, Doug's motion to make Santos Aceto vice chair,
I'll second.
and second by Scott Sauer. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda is to review the agenda.
You wanna switch or you wanna?
No, we're good.
Second.
We have a motion by Scott, second by Nathan. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item number 4 is receive comments from public. Anyone here wishing to address the board on an item that is not currently listed on the agenda? Seeing no one move forward, we'll go to item number 5, an update on the Muscom operations and equipment with Muscom manager Chris Jasper. Morning, Chris.
Good morning. So I guess I just wanted to update you guys on the radios. Over the past 6 months since I took over as manager, I'm trying to get a feel for the radio inventory. There were some radios not in places that we thought they were. And so we currently found that there's 18 radios that were supposed to be issued to volunteer fire departments that were somewhere else. I currently have those in my office and I'm working on reprogramming them so that we can get everything where it was intended to be. With that, we still have 2 missing radios that are unaccounted for. One, I'm 90% sure I know where it's at. So I'll work on finalizing that. The other one was supposedly issued out to a volunteer fire department. It, however, I've discovered has never been used or keyed up. And so I kind of find it hard to believe that over this long of time that no one's keyed it up or used it. So not quite sure where that one ended up. I know that there was a question about our port fees. I did go through our contract as well as reach out to Motorola. The port fee is a set fee that we pay every year. It is not based on a radio count, so we can add essentially however many radios we want. That port fee actually, there's an escalator built into it, so it does go up every year. And so part of that is they expect, additional radios to be added. So if you do want to add radios for the medical examiner's office, or if that's something you want to do, those fees will not go up. So it will just be the expense of purchasing the radios for that department.
Okay. And then, so there's no others like bandwidth or channels, anything else there that we would run into risk of, Chris?
Nope.
Okay,
Nope, so we basically just have a contract for the maintenance of the radios and the radio system, as well as the port fees, and like I said, it's an escalator that goes up every year, and so it's kind of expected that we're gonna add a couple every year, so.
okay, so, and so I think we talked about the medical examiners. So in the original allocation of radios, it's my understanding in the original project, the medical examiner's office was never even theorized to have radios. That was something added after the fact, and they currently have one.
Correct.
And that belongs to Nichols Fire, was originally designed for or designated for?
Yes, correct.
And we have something from Nichols Fire that says they do not need that radio, they're not interested in it, or?
I don't yet. I actually have 5 radios in my office that were supposed to go to Nichols Fire. And so their fire chief has of course said to me, well, I don't know that I need all 5 of those, so that's something we're still in the works with, so.
Okay. And when do you think you'll have an answer on that?
Well, I'm hoping to get these reprogrammed and back out to the fire departments here within the next week. So I'm waiting for a cable, one of our cables to reprogram the radios had a short in it, so I have to get a new one. So that's kind of my holdup now.
Okay.
Hopefully, I would hope within the next couple weeks, I can get these all back out to the volunteer fire departments and
So you're aware that the medical examiner's office has requested from us 6 radios total, and they have one, so they need 5 additional is what they've asked. But I know that there's been a bit of controversy over the last, and this is more for other board members, over the several months. I know Rodney Rock is on the MCJCC commission, and he's been, he's in a volunteer fire as well as he's a Muscatine fireman. But he said, one of the challenges has been that, some of the volunteer fires never got the radios they were promised initially. So how can we say that they're coming asking for more radios when they never got what they're supposed to have in the first place? And I think that's what Chris has been working real hard on, is making sure that everybody got what they should have had in the first place when we agreed on and funded this whole project, and then we could look at anything after that as an addition and consider it as such.
right, I think that my predecessor kind of, asked everybody for their inventory and took their word for it with what they have. I actually, over the last 6 months, have gone out to all of our end user departments and physically touched and done an inventory myself of all the radios to make sure they're where they're supposed to be. And so I think, when I took over, we had some 20-some missing radios. Well, we're down to 1 now. So I think just doing that, and now we're clearing it up and getting people what they were supposed to get initially. So hopefully that'll take care of that issue.
And do you have a feel for the extent of how many additional users we might expect interest? Because I know there was the whole debate with the hospital and staff there, and I think we're through that, right? But is there somehow like emergency room, is that an additional radio that should have been funded?
Well, the emergency room has a base radio, which is what the fire department uses to give their reports.
And that was part of the initial project?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So those 5 that their security team has and their safety director have will be coming back. I don't have them back yet. The user group kind of, told them when all this came up before me that they could use them until they had replacements. And they actually got a grant, and I believe she just got the money here within the last couple of weeks. So she should be getting them here soon, and I'll get those 5 back.
But those are not P25?
They are.
The grant money?
Yes.
So, just one of the things that concerns me in that is, when this whole project started, and this is maybe, our radios were out of control in the county because people were getting grant funding, various agencies, and then they were attaching them to our radio system. And so part of our long-term agreement was that Muscom would own all radios. I think that might fly a bit in the face of that if they're gonna attach to our P25 system. I think we need to think through that. What is the hospital itself getting the grant?
Yes.
I wonder if we should consider requesting that they have assign that grant to the EMA commission, where Muscom accepts the grant funds and purchases the radios. So we're, per our agreement with Muscom, how we wanna see that doing, and then they're officially issued that radio and then maintained and supported.
Well, my understanding, and again, this was all before I took over, so I'm not sure what the agreement was with the hospital. I guess I don't look at the hospital as an end user. Yes, they're gonna be using our system, but we're just allowing them access to our channels, so if they own and maintain their own radios, I don't.
So they're not gonna be dispatched through, are those radios worth anything if they don't have our backbone network?
no, they would have to figure out how to get their own network and communicate.
There,
So-
you know, to me, therein lies the kind of challenge.
Right, and the thought was, the reason I think that we were giving them access to our frequencies and our channels is our deputies, when they're taking committals into the hospital, they communicate with security and the staff. We communicate with them if they have an issue. They also communicate with the jail about committals, so there's lots of communication that goes back and forth between the hospital and Muscatine, the jail, and the deputies. So it kind of was one of those interoperability things that you purchase the radios and we'll give you access to our channels to talk to us.
Yeah, I suppose you could look at that like another, you know, like if Louisa County wanted access to our P20. I think that's something, maybe that's probably not for this meeting, probably MCJCC and the user group needs to discuss that and figure out. Because what we don't want to do is get back into the case we had when we went into this P25 project where we had no idea what we even had for radios. And, you know, it's a $2 million asset we have out there.
Right.
So we need to know what we have, so.
So, back to the start of your presentation there, you talked about, I believe, 18 radios that those, you didn't know where they were, or you didn't know?
Well,
I'm a little confused.
They were, so let's say for example, West Liberty Fire Department was supposed to get 21 radios. I'm just pulling that number out, I don't know if that's accurate. They were really only given 19 and 2 of them were given to somebody else.
Okay.
So there was a total of 18 that were supposed to go to a department that went somewhere else. So I've taken all those back and we're gonna actually get each department what they were originally supposed to get.
Okay. So, you are just going to take and, since you've relocated these, you're gonna take and, get them back to the persons that were supposed to have them initially.
Correct.
But we do not have any that don't have a home. They all have a home.
Well, we have a extra, we call it a cache of radios at Muscom. So if there's a disaster or one breaks and somebody needs to loan one.
I understand that.
We had some hot
But
spares.
aside from
I
those,
understand
right,
that.
Right.
aside from those, right, everything is accounted for.
Okay.
And the other, not to throw another wrench in there, but I don't believe search and rescue wasn't accounted for in the original allotment of radios too. So they have 4 or 5 of the cash supply at search and rescue as well.
So what I think, Chris, would make sense for the board, and I think that's something we can take up, because search and rescue, and correct me if, the sheriff is taking
Search and rescue is under emergency.
under emergency. So what we probably need to do is see if that should be, you know, I like to have, if they get 5 I don't have a problem with them having 5 radios, I mean, that's not my issue. My issue is they should be identified as search and rescue radios. There should have been the funding for those appropriately, not out of the cash, out of Muscom, because then it's like, Chris, why don't you have the radios to do the backup? You should have, well, somebody else has used them. Well, that's not a good situation. We just need to identify the dollars and where they're being directed.
Then you
Well-
no longer have backup.
Then you don't have backup, right?
I guess I'll stand corrected. The 5 that I'm getting back from the hospital will be extras. Those were accounted for the hospital. So my thought was to just put those back in the cash, which would replace the ones that were given to search and rescue, and then we would have in the cash what we were supposed to.
How many do you have in the cash?
There is 25. There was 20 originally allotted, and then I believe that the prior emergency manager got a grant for some radios, so there's an additional 5. So a
Have
total
you
of
ever gotten
25.
have you ever gotten to a situation or a point where that number, was down to 0 or close to 0 in regard to, whatever event may have occurred, so that we had to have these cash radios out as loaners?
It's 25.
In the past 6 months that I've been the manager, no, we haven't. I've lent a couple out when one breaks, but not to the point where it's completely depleted, no.
I mean, that's-
So, it sounds like, to have 25 there, that seems like a substantial number to me. Maybe
About
not.
4%. It was 650 radios in the system, right, somewhere around there, probably more now. So, yeah, I thought it was an awfully large number as a backup. I don't know what do we have any, does Motorola give us any kind of a expected fail rate, or, you know, I know you have some that are probably higher risk than others. Cause like, and there's also different radios, right? So that,
Right, correct.
at 25, you would have to be a makeup of certain different models, cause law enforcement has a different style than professional fire versus volunteer fire.
Perfectly safe radios.
So far, we've been, I think in the last 6 months, I've sent one back for repair. It was covered under our service contract, they repaired it and sent it back, so, I don't know prior to that.
Yeah, with the different radios, you just do a mathematical calculation on what you'd have to have percentage wise.
Yeah, and I think that's something if, once you get your arms around this and then we say, okay, here's the areas that would need additional funding for radios or whatever, then we could make that decision whether we add radios or we pull them out of the cash, whether that would be a wise what would be the wisest decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the initial intent was to keep 20 in the cash. And like I said, there was a grant that was received by the prior emergency manager, so there was 5 added to that, so if those 5 need to be pulled and given to somebody, then, or whatever.
No, I mean, it makes sense, you gotta have tools in your toolbox.
Yep, okay. So we'll be discussing this more.
Chris, I just had a question. Do you know the units that we purchased, when did we purchase those?
I'd have to look, I think it was in 2015 or 2015, I think, wasn't it?
2015, I believe.
So hypothetically, if we were just talking about, as you mentioned, the units that we want to get for, the coroner's group, would those be the same units that we have now? Or being that they're 5 years old, would be, or 4 potentially years old, are they gonna be the same exact units, or are they updated units that would not be matching exactly the way ours are?
It would be the same, the quote that I have here, I think that you guys saw Monday, that's for the APX 4000 radio. Which is the same one that the volunteer fire departments use. It's a different model than law enforcement uses, but they're just a little cheaper. But yes, it's the same model as what.
So
most of the ones we
compatibility,
have
they'd
now.
be the same battery packs, same charging stations, all those things.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for Chris? Chris, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
And keep up the good work. Item number 6 is discussion possible action to approve the following resolutions. Resolution 0102-2001 authorizing the county engineer to sign for and collect disaster relief funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Scott, second by Nathan. This is a roll call vote. Doug?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Nathan? I vote aye. And Santos? Okay, motion carries. Item 2 is Resolution 0102-2002 authorizing the county engineer to execute certification of completion and final acceptance on farm-to-market construction projects.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Scott, second by Nathan. It's a roll call vote. Doug?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. And Santos?
All right,
Motion carries. Item number 3 is Resolution 0102-2003 authorizing the county engineer to close secondary roads in emergency situations.
Move to approve.
Motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Doug. This is a roll call vote. Doug?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Nathan? I vote aye. Santos? Motion carries. Item D, Resolution 0102-2004 designating official newspapers in and for Muscatine County for 2020, I believe that should be
Yes, it
on
should
the
be.
agenda.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Doug. This is a roll call vote. Doug?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Santos?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item E, Resolution 0102-2005, Construction Evaluation Resolution.
Move to approve.
A motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Nathan. Any discussion?
what is that?
That is a resolution that you need to approve every year if you want to have the right to comment on large-scale confined animal feeding operations. There's a master matrix process that the DNR established for feeding operations of a certain size. If you adopt this, that gives you the ability to have a public hearing and offer comment to the DNR as part of their approval process. If you don't
Okay.
adopt it, it's all up to DNR and the county doesn't get to even
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, Doug,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Santos?
All right.
Okay, item number 7, discussion of possible action to approve the following appointments. 7A is to reappoint Bruce Bryant as the Muscatine County Weed Commissioner for a 1-year term ending December 31, 2020.
Move to approve.
Have a motion by Doug, second by, was that Scott? Nathan, sorry,
Sorry,
Nathan.
I'm mumbling.
Okay, this is not a roll call. Okay, so I have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carries. Item B, appoint Jody Hanson as the Eastern Iowa Tourism Association representative for a 1-year term ending December 31, 2020.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Santos,
Second.
second by Scott. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item C, reappoint Karen Harper and Brian Wright to the Muscatine County Board of Health for 3-year terms ending December 31st, 2022.
Move to approve.
Have a motion by Santos, second by Doug. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item D, reappoint Mark Peterson to the Muscatine County Conservation Board for a 5-year term ending December 31st, 2024.
Move to approve.
Have a motion by Santos,
Second.
second by Nathan. Any discussion?
Do we have any other openings on that coming up?
The Conservation Board,
Yeah.
we do. We are advertising for a vacancy right now.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item E, reappoint Richard Booser to the Conesville Benefited Fire District for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2022. And this one, it will be subject to approval by the Louisa County Board as it's a joint appointment.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Santos,
Second.
second by Doug. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item number F is appoint Jamie Boston to fill one of the 3 vacancies on the Muscatine County Historic Preservation Commission for a 3-year term ending January 1st, 2023.
Move to,
I have a motion by Nathan,
Second.
second by Scott. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item number G is to review applications received to fill a licensed electrician opening on the Muscatine County Board of Appeals for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2022. Now, we have 2 applications. We've received 2 applications for this position, and it's been a policy of the board in years past that we present those applications to the board at this meeting, and then we may look to take action on them or a recommendation at the following meeting. So I think we have if you looked in your packets, we have an application from Jeff Hackett, a local licensed electrician, and also from Tim Nelson, a local licensed electrician, been around for a number of years.
And I will note that Mr. Hackett has served multiple terms already. And typically what the board has done is once an individual has served 2 terms, if others are interested, they allow somebody new to have an opportunity to serve.
Okay, thank you. So you should have applications in your packet. Okay, item number 8, discussion on possible action to approve the minutes of the December 30, 2019 regular meeting.
So moved.
A motion by Nathan, second by Doug. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item number 9, correspondence. Santos, did you have any?
no, I just wanted to make a comment though, I wanted to thank all the different individuals that were, volunteering for these positions. Most of these positions are hard for us to fill. That's something that I do value, the people that are volunteering on those boards and commissions. So I
Yep.
just wanted to thank you for that.
I had no correspondence. Nathan?
Negative.
Scott?
I had none.
Doug?
Met with Ryan Streck from Muscatine Power and Water Tuesday, the 31st.
Okay.
Discussed the transmission
Any committee reports? Scott?
None.
Nathan?
Nope.
I had none.
No.
Santos? Okay. Item number 11 is receive information from county employees. Any county employee that has anything to come to the board? Okay, seeing no one. Item with the administration office. Item 12A is discussion and possible action to set meeting dates and times for 2020.
This is your opportunity to decide if you want to change. We currently meet every Monday at 9 a.m. This is an opportunity to set that schedule for 2020 or change it if you want to.
Come fix if it ain't broke. I
Yeah.
would move to continue the present schedule.
Have a motion by Nathan, a second by Scott. Is there any discussion? I will note that there were times where we experimented with, I don't know, whatever, every third or every fourth Monday, we'd do an evening meeting, and I had supported that for a few years, but quite frankly, have seen absolutely zero difference in the attendance. And other than people like me that would show up on the wrong days sometimes, you know, it's easier to have a consistent schedule for most, I think, so.
And the board has continued to, if we have something that we believe is going to be of particular interest and there's gonna be a lot of attendance, the board does have the option to set an evening meeting specifically for that.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Okay. Item number 12 is review Board of Supervisor appointments to boards and commissions for 2020.
Right, and in your packet, I included the 2019 appointments, just as a reminder to what everybody serves on, so this is, you guys can determine whether you wanna make some changes, stay where you're at. If you guys can talk about that prior to the next meeting, then on Monday, there'll be an action item to actually make these appointments.
Okay, everybody has that. It was in the agenda. I think it'd probably be best to,
The only question I have is we've got Bob is still filling his term through the end of June on milestones. What's our thought doing then?
well, there's two things about that. One was, you know, Bob was heavily involved in that,
Right.
as that changed. And I don't believe that's more of a voluntary, used to be that the board had required a seat there, but I don't believe that's the
Right,
case any longer.
I don't believe it's
With the
required to be a
reorganization of milestones.
Gotcha.
And Bob had served as actually the chair and the CEO of the board for that region, so he maintained, and I haven't heard anything from Bob to the contrary, so.
I actually spoke with Bob, just last week, and he indicated that when his term expires in June, he may not be interested in reserving, but he would let us know that
Okay.
at that time.
Yeah, and I think, for history, Dick Marr for years had done that and carried on in that role as kind of a board liaison when he really was no longer serving on the board. That's kind of a tough one, was they did the regionalization. I know Bob was going to Atumwa frequently for meetings and things like that, so that's a tough committee. Okay, anything else, Nancy?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, any board members, anything for the good of the whole? If not, meeting is adjourned.